Thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Yong Kang Hee. I created the group called K8SUG. So K8SUG, okay, K8SUG. So some people ask me how to pronounce it. I say whatever you like, as long as you know it's K8SUG. Okay. So you guys might notice we do have quite a few social platforms. If you haven't noticed yet, please follow us, help us spread the news, support us. So can you guys see clearly? We got almost 27,000 members globally. And then we got 15.5 for LinkedIn followers. And plus we got 11,000 newsletter subscribers. So auction, I will talk about auction of shortly. And keep strong, okay? We are close to 30,000 followers. So people are joining us. Again, thanks to everybody for joining us. I put all of the stuff in one link. This is the one magic link. Link tree. And you can subscribe to our link tree as well. There is a bell icon here. And if you want to bookmark this link, subscribe to our link. Help us spread news to help more people. I put together all the discount, all the learning certification, and the event discount code all together. So instead of talking, let me walk you through it. Okay. So I'm going to click the link. So this is what the link tree look like. So everything we're putting here, including the shops, not really, I'm not selling you anything, okay? So I told my friends, I'm selling my passion on multi-cloud, on Kubernetes. So all of the stuff I'm putting here, for example, like the learning certification discount code and code cloud. Have you guys heard of the tutorial dojo? Yeah. So for AWS practice exams, all these, yeah, pretty cool. So it can help you to speed up your learning certifications. Tech with Lucy. So the lady, she's from Cindy. She created a lot of the AWS learning stuff. Yeah. And the Kubernetes Bible book. So I don't have anything still. I just including the link from them. They might give us some discount code. We will including here as well. So all the links. Have you guys seen this? So doing like a Rashendra, the blue jacket, it's so expensive now. So when I did my first CK exam, it only cost me $200. Now it's like a $445. And even you chop the half, like a 50% of still very expensive. So I was also talking about, I was on the mission to helping more people get certified without spending too much money. That's one thing on the bottom you probably can see. Oh, no. Sorry, I didn't share this screen. Let me coming back here. This is the one. After I click the link, now we can see, okay? So I put together all of the links for the learning for certifications and also the latest discount code. Some of these actually only last for a few days. For example, the 40%, up to 46% of the Cubestream bundle, now 987. It might expire in the few hours, or maybe already expired, because before I came here, I checked it's still available. And the Code Cloud for the learning, you got a 37% off. I list a lot of the stuff. I'm not going to go through one by one. If you guys go to some other events, like the CDAO, what do they call? Yeah, I can't remember the words. Like a data analytics something. And the CISO Melbourne also coming. So they also gave us some special discount to our community members, like a 30% off to join the event. So Rush, for your team, you guys get like a high level people, like a director level, VP level, you can request a free ticket from us. So that's part of our collaboration with some other event vendors. Okay, so definitely, yeah, the next one actually happening in 2 days in Sydney.
If you have anyone you want to send, yeah, just send me a message. I can get you a free ticket. It is actually pretty costly. So that event, the CDAO for 2 days, like $3,000 or $2,500 US. So I'd like to thank everybody supporting us. So we are growing bigger. We can manage to get more benefits for our community. Okay, I put together all of these here. So the one thing I want to talk about is the share the joy 100% off. So I mentioned earlier, even 50% off is still too expensive. Some people say, I can't afford it. Even you give me 50% off discount code. So I was talking to some other sponsors, they can support us some free exam modules. That's part of the shared joy. So everyone can request to join, but we also need you guys to help us to spread the news. So then, so far, from January, we started the share the joy 100% of the initiative. So far, we supported 20 people, completely free CKS, or CKS, and also code cloud access is free for them.
Is it about the other certificate like SJ or August? Only CK, that's useful.
So the reason is that one is the most expensive one. So I always recommend to do the CKS, CKD, or CKS or FCS. Because that one costs $445. Technically, you can use the voucher for $250 exams, but that's wasting money, right? So that's my suggestion. And also we put together some other loan exam vouchers, like AWS is completely free. Did you guys know that? So you go to our link, you click the link, there is some more details. It's completed for all associated exams. So it's part of AWS. They want to encourage people to do the loaning. Once they complete the loaning task, you can request the exam voucher. Okay, Microsoft is doing something similar. Azure also doing something similar. They provide a free exam vouchers. So Google, they are giving away a 50% off, but also pretty good, right? Anyway, I also record some short videos to talk about how to become a Q astronaut, how to become an astronaut, AWS astronaut. Okay. Anyone wondering how to travel on business or spending the cost economy price? So you need something like €6 to find the award ticket. Okay, all of these are put together because of my own needs. I do loaning, I do certificate, I do travel. I join the events, I don't want to spend too much money. I hope I put all of these here can help you all as well. And share the joy. Some of these people, like Ross and Thiago, we donate the 50% of the vouchers, so we can help more people. So that's part of the donate. So people donate us, we can help more people.
And if you become a Q astronaut by this donation certificate, maybe you can contribute to the free, one of the free 5 vouchers you get as well as a Q astronaut.
Yeah.
That's what I said to my colleagues.
Yeah.
Comes Q astronauts, if I gave you something, maybe you can give back to the community.
Correct. Yeah. That's where we're
it's like going like a
pyramid. Correct. So this particular program is based on the donation or people. Some companies sponsor us. We can help more people. So even no donations, so we can't help more people. So that's why we need more people to help us spread the news. So have you guys scanned the QR code? Bookmark the links. We need you guys, every one of you guys to help us. Okay. So this link. So that's our photo upload download link. We encourage everyone to take photos and help us upload the photos, do LinkedIn posts to help us spread the news, okay? And the rest of these, you can find all the links, our Cube Strong community. We've got almost 30,000 followers. Our Meetup, our astronaut, our LinkedIn page. So you can even join us. Yeah, I will show you shortly. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Almost done all of these talking. And then the bottom, you can even find all the photos from our other meetups. So we do have 9 countries, 8 countries, 9 cities. And we just introduced a Discord community, our WhatsApp community. We need more volunteers, okay? If anyone has some time, are willing to help us, join us as volunteers. So we do have a volunteer link. We do have a call for speakers link. We do have a sponsor us link and my LinkedIn. Feel free to follow me. So you guys can be still within like a 46,000. Yeah, only 3 to become a 46,000 followers. Okay. So let me come back. So this is a QR code or the link. Yeah, please, take a screenshot or join us, and make sure you scroll down. You can find the links for the photo upload, download, etc. Okay. So majority of these I can skip, yeah, because all I want to talk is in the link sheet. So acknowledge our country. K8SUG Australia respectfully acknowledge the tradition land of the Kulin Nation people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So tonight's our agenda. So we have 2 great speakers, 2 awesome topics. Make sure you join us to learn. And also a reminder, you need to learn to be able to win the swags. After 2 of the topics, we will have the quiz time to test you. So the first topic, we have a special guest, Aviram. He is from Israel, right? He is the co-founder and the CEO of MetalBear. And he's a co-creator of the MetalBear, the open source project. And our second topic is about WebAssembly. How many of you have heard of the WebAssembly? Was made. It's pretty popular. Someone said, after the Kubernetes becomes so popular, the next big thing is was made, the WebAssembly. Okay, so we got Thiago to talk about WebAssembly on cloud native platforms. So before we move to the topic, I want to highlight our mission. So our mission, I think anyone art designer can help us design a nicer logo. So I use ChatGPT generated. It looks like it's all right. We can say it's a cute stone, right? But it's not a nice. If anyone can help us to redesign a nice one, that would be awesome. Our mission is to empower the community to learn faster. Nowadays, we can't spend like 1 year do only one certification. It doesn't work. The AI thing changes every day or maybe every week. So we need to learn faster and certify smarter. You don't want to spend too much money, wasting your time. So that's why we want to, certify smarter. At the end of the day, we want to grow stronger. Find your next exciting job. Find your dream job. So we're now Cube Strongers. So how we can make that happen? We need our volunteers to keep us to continue to run all the meetups everywhere. So listed here, our volunteers are from Australia. And we do have volunteers globally. We have like 60+ volunteers helping us to keep the community running. And I'd like to thanks to our sponsors, AWS for sponsoring the venue to allow us to host the meetup. Thanks CloudCasa also become our long-term sponsor to continue to sponsor us the free learning subscriptions. Every meetup we're giving away free CloudCasa access. And also thanks to MetalBear sponsors the food drinks. Without the food drinks, we will be hungry. And just to show you where are our groups. This is where we are right now. We are closer to 27,000 members. Our next event in Melbourne. I can't remember, is that 5th or the 3rd of June? But we need more volunteers. Yeah, it looks like Thiago spent for the last year. He's so dedicated to helping us. He's going to take a little bit of a break. Okay, we need more active volunteers to join us to keep this running. And the rest of meetups, you guys can also join online. If the timing allows, every meetup will give away 3 code cloud access. And we also give away 50% of exam vouchers, again, based on the donations. So you can join us online. We do give away the digital swags to online attendees as well. Also, if anyone from Melbourne you're interested, WSO2, they are also one of our sponsors. And there is an event you can join. Typically, when the event, they are targeting CIO, CTO, or CDOs, the event, they normally have a pretty nice food, nice swags. Okay, yeah, you can scan the QR code, you join. It's a half-day event, yeah, pretty good. Actually, just downstairs. So it's the same location. I believe there is a service office downstairs. Okay. You guys got the QR code? Yeah, please join. I register myself. I want to get some free food. Okay. So Cubes channel. Anyone interested? So I think in Melbourne we have the most Cubes channels in Australia. We got probably 60 or even 70% of Australia. Aussie Cubes channel are based in Melbourne. What about Australia? That's the word I created. I made myself the first Australia, AWS channel. Okay. I want to, make something really cool. Let me just walk you through this. So I encourage people to become fully certified on AWS. And the one thing I want to show you is, so remember, K8SUG, our focus is Kubernetes plus AI. So we got a new domain name, K8SUG.ai. Okay, that aligns to our focus, Kubernetes plus AI user group. So if you click this link, oh, by the way, the website created by our volunteers, Jeremy is here. Yeah, thanks to him. Yeah. Without him, we don't have the landing page before he volunteered to help us. And we introduced something really cool. And if you want to see where are the astronauts, AWS astronauts, globally, there are 129. So all of them passed all 12 AWS certifications. We just added a new tab here, astronaut. If you click that one, you can see the map. You can see where are the astronauts. So listed here, I haven't added here because there is another volunteer. He just created this form for us. Just added. I only loaded the first 16 people. The first 16, they are double UJK. They did the AWS, they did all Kubernetes. Okay, so I only including the initial 16 here. If you look at the map, Australia, we get more. Okay, so only Australia, we got 3 here. If you click the map, you can see Australia's, dual jacket. You got Australia, you got Cubes. And you can even click the link, give you a little bit of introduction. And do you guys like this? So, and you might also notice the Cube Strong, okay? Cube Strong, I haven't figured out. I was still thinking, yeah, these are the 16, the first 16 dual jackets. They are Cube astronauts, they are also astronauts. I listed all 16 here. Later, I will ask the rest of the guys, they can make a pull request to add themselves to the list. Okay, which is kind of like a copy, what a CNCF did. Okay, now the next plan is we're going to add another one called Cube Strong. So I was thinking to make it harder. Okay, if you want to become a Cube Strong, you want to join a Cube Strong club, you need to at least 2 cloud certifications, like an astronaut plus Cube Strong. You can become a Cube Strong club member. Okay, just to make it harder, make it challenging everybody to become a Cube Strong, part of our Cube Strong club. Okay, so right now I just link it to the Cube Strong LinkedIn page. But later we will do something similar, like like the Austrian club. We will list everybody pass the both of the certification can be, doesn't have to be AWS. You can be two cloud, any two cloud. So right now I'm planning initially only listed the first 16 because they did the two. Think about a CNCF as a cloud. So CNCF plus AWS that qualifies as a Keystone Club member. Okay, later we can add in more. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk for now. Yeah, you guys already know this. All of the latest discount code, etc., can be found from our link tree in the Kubernetes Bible book. Yes, sometime Pact might sponsor us some books, but this time we don't have. And again, just a reminder, you can do free AWS, Azure, and even Akamai certification. If you can do free, why you pay, right? So last one thing I want to highlight. 14th May, we're going to give away 4 CKA exam vouchers. That's completely free. It's part of our lucky job. I will do a LinkedIn, yeah, I used to do LinkedIn Live. Then LinkedIn Live will say, oh, you guys can't do the lucky job. You can't give away using LinkedIn. They actually closed my second account, which is I feel so disappointed. They closed my second LinkedIn account, which I already got like 4,300 followers, and they are not giving me back. So we're not going to use LinkedIn Live anymore. So I will use Zoom. We just draw the names. So 4 of them can get the CK exam voucher, and the 3 of them can get the 1-year Code Cloud access. Yeah, just continue to help more people. But again, it's part of our mission. We need everyone join the mission, also help us spread the news. That's the only requirements. You, for example, you like repost our social posts, we can potentially find more sponsors. But so far, right now, our sponsor basically only 2. Second State, which created the WASMage. They are the creator of the WASMage, the WebAssembly thing, and the Code Cloud sponsors. We need to find more sponsors to help more people. Oh, sorry, I talked too much. Thank you for listening to me. Now, let's move to tonight's key topic. So the first one is Aviram. Let's welcome Aviram to give us a talk about the mirror vision. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Can everybody hear me? I prefer to not use the mic if it's okay. Yeah, we're good. Great. So first of all, sorry, I'm a bit jet lagged still. Like I think it's the most severe jet lag I had. But I really appreciate you all coming in. Great to see such great turnaround, and thank you for making this event happen. The volunteers as well. I think we should be good in 1, 2. Yes. So hi everyone, I'm Aviram Hassan. I'm MetalBear CEO and co-founder. A little background about myself. I've been contributing to open source for a while now, or at least I remember 7 years. And MirrorD is a project me and my co-founder started out of having a lot of issues and suffering a lot. And we really wanted to solve a problem that is interesting to us, and we feel the pain. So that's how we came about building MirrorD. And MirrorD became backed by a company we created called MetalBear. And we'll appreciate any technical question. I like technicalities. Sales is less of my strong suit. So going deep, going high, that's what I like. In today's session, we're going to talk about like what is MirrorD, what are we solving, and what's basically and how it works behind the hood, which is kind of, we believe, is cool. And some of the presentation is actually an adaptation of something we delivered in KubeCon Paris by one of my teammates. So one of the interesting thing about MirrorD is it's actually coming to solve a high-level problem by a very, very low-level solution. Usually, other solutions, they wrap and glue tape a lot of different already existing low-level mechanism, and then they still stay in a high level, let's say, plane. But we decided to really break down how things work in order to really provide what we believe to be the best user experience. So just to give a gist about MeerD, MeerD is a dev tool, and it allows you to connect the local process to your existing cluster. The cluster can be local, it can be remote, and the idea is to enable you to debug and iterate against your cloud native application very fast and in convenience. So going back to that, so the challenge is like, okay, we have now distributed microservices, and we are solving it in a very different problem, looking at it in a process level, which we will go a bit deeper in a few minutes. So what MeerD is for? So probably any of you know this kind of situation where you code locally, you have your tests, you have unit tests, you have some maybe Docker Compose that spins up the database you use, other services, and then everything is great and fun and everything works and you're happy. You'll say, I'm gonna deliver this feature. And then when you deploy it to an actual environment, then you found out that other microservices don't behave the way you imagine them to be. You see that the data you expected is different than what you anticipated locally. You have your configuration that somebody else changed or you changed and now appears in interference with your code. And I think the most common thing is third-party APIs, which you can't even control, that are being changed always and then break for you. So pretty much, I'm pretty confident to say that most people face that. And you probably know about this dev loop. So basically, you start coding locally, you test as much as you can locally, you open a pull request, build, CI, probably review somewhere there, merge the pull request, deploy to staging, testing, staging, and then production. This is very common. And of course, in any step you fail, you go all the way back to coding locally. So of course, if you code and test locally, that's a very fast iteration because that's just like one hop. But if you fail in staging, that's the most severe one because you need to go all the way back, often rewrite your code, rewrite your test, get another review again, and then pretty much waste everybody's time. And of course, if you break staging, you break it for everybody else. And of course, now that we introduced AI into everything, you have another step that people are now putting more effort into, like coding isn't the vast majority of things that engineers do because they can use code generation, they can use code generation to run tests. So the big component of engineering, we believe today, is mostly about architecture, like thinking what you want to build, knowing what it needs to do, and then integrating with the rest of the system that is built by your company organization. So how does when we take the loop and extrapolate it into a real environment, then probably you have each one is an engineer, and this is like an AI agent for the future when AI agents are going to replace some of us. And basically, each engineer are working on their own machine, and then when they get to staging, then they start queuing up because you wouldn't want, it depends on the organization, of course, but you wouldn't want to have many people deploying at the same time because then if you break, you're going to break other things. So you start having queues, especially if it's the same service. And then after, of course, these passes you deploy, you test in stage, and then you deploy to production. It's bad. That's the gist. So what's the idea about MeerD? The idea about MeerD is to say, okay, we already have an existing environment that is useful testing for. We want to enable engineers to iterate against it from the get-go, from the first line of code they write, and just integrate with it continuously. So the way it works, it lets you run your service locally and have access to everything you have in the remote environment, but also pretty much share it. So basically, we go from this big loop to this small loop. You call test with MeerD, call test with MeerD. Then, when you're ready, you go all the way in the loop. And usually, that means that the outer loop is very fast because you already tested and you have high confidence in what you did. So how does the entire workflow look with MeerD? So you only run locally the service that you're working on. You test with traffic and data from staging always. When it looks good, you open a pull request. The pull request can run CI. The CI itself can use the staging environment again, and then you don't have setup time, and you can just reuse the existing environment. No other people deploy to staging broken versions. Sometimes engineers result into just deploying each time to staging and testing again. And of course, then you get only stable versions deployed to staging and not like half-baked that say, okay, let's deploy and see if it works. And of course, because you have more people putting effort into testing beforehand and it's very quick, you get high quality deployments right into production. So, any questions so far about PRD before we yeah, that's a bit of the jet lag. Deep dive into how it works behind the scenes. Nobody? Great. So it means I'm doing perfect or very bad. So basically, the cool thing about PRD is that it works on the processor level. Other solutions, they work with a VPN. What it means that your computer or your Docker container is being connected to the remote cluster. And the idea is to let you have more granular configuration of what is local and what is remote by actually acting on a specific operation. So behind the scenes, what happens is when you do the exec, it actually, what it does, it runs your target application, say in Python, and you're just a binary, and it prepends an environment variable called mpreload on Linux, and that this environment variable for Mac OS. And what happens is that it's our binary is being loaded into the existing binary, and you don't need to do any code change before using MIRD. When our library is being loaded, it calls an entry point. The entry point starts a thread that starts working and does the things behind the scenes, like that. And we'll go into what that means exactly. So before we jump into the next step, so for those who don't remember computer systems and computer science class, so libc is the abstraction that you have between user mode and kernel mode for most operating systems. So the idea is that I write C code and I can compile it to any system that supports libc very easily, not really, but proportionally easily. And most programming languages are built on top of libc, not Go on Linux, because Go is special. But most languages do that. So what happens is you write high-level language code, and then you have the high-level standard library that's usually called libc, and libc uses what we call syscalls into the kernel, and syscalls is the interface between user mode and kernel, both on Mac OS, any pretty much Unix-based operating system. So once MIRD gets loaded into the process, we actually hook the libc function. So for example, here we have what we call the readme2. So before, when an application calls read, this function is being called before. We use a framework that is called Frida, which is a great reverse engineering framework, but we use it for a very different need. And before actually executing the read function, it calls our code, which this is pretty much where our logic goes in. So when application calls any libc function that we handle, it looks at our config, and then it says, is this file supposed to be local? Is that file supposed to be remote? Am I allowed to write to the remote? Am I allowed to read locally? And then basically we allow you to have a lot of flexibility around which file and what kind of resource would be local and remote. By default, almost everything with MIRD is remote. We have a lot of default configurations to make it very click and play. But you can change it. You can say this file is remote, this file is local, this can be written to, and etc. So if it's disabled by the config, it goes to the original libc function. It's like MIRD doesn't exist. But if the operation is enabled, then it is forwarded to the agent that we create in the cloud on demand. So when the MIRD session starts to create an agent, and then the agent performs the operation in the cluster, sends back to result, and send back the result to the application. So in the cluster, what happens behind the scenes is basically we allow you to target Kubernetes workloads. So pod deployment, algo rollout, agents functioning according to the same node as the target. And in order to act with the same permissions and the same file access, environment variables, network traffic, everything, it does what is called setNS, which is set namespace. So another quick issue. So the way containers work on on Linux is using Linux namespaces, which is how you divide what processes are being can have access to. And basically, we run our threads in the same namespace as your target application. The Kubernetes namespace, for to mention, doesn't matter. And we are also able to access the same files that the remote container has. An alternative to that is to use a thermal container. And it allows pretty much the same, just without us needing to access the underlying system. And the thing that is available using UD is the remote networking, the remote file system access, and ground variables, and that pretty much covers it. So going back to the architecture, we have on the user's machine the process running with MUDI loaded into it. Any incoming traffic that is matching our filters and our settings from the remote service goes to our local service using the agent. And basically, any outgoing traffic, DB access, file reads, writes, goes to the agent, to the service, and then also to the network and everything the real service has access to. Okay, so before I jump into the demo, any questions?
Yeah, okay, question.
Yeah, first.
So what will be about that the Kubernetes version that support about the agent running on? What version of the Kubernetes?
So we've seen MUDI running in like 117 is the oldest I've seen. Does that know any like specific Kubernetes version that we like there is maybe API because we build with Kubernetes, which is like a library for Kubernetes, and then there might be a version queue. But we've seen it running like on 117, and I would say that pretty much it's not using any real modern Kubernetes feature by design because we want it to run on a very broad spec. So jumping into the demo, if network permits. So we're doing a live demo because we don't like video demos. So in our demo, we have a single architecture, which the main service would be the IP visit counter. The IP visit counter, what it does, it counts how many times it saw the originating IP. It does it by using Redis. It uses another microservice called IP info to fetch more info about that IP. And then it writes a message to Kafka saying, hey, I saw that IP, and then we have a consumer just putting it into the scale. Now, if I want to run IP visit counter today, probably like the architecture you would have in your organization is like tenfold the scale and like size of more microservices. But then if I want to work on IP visit counter, I probably need to set up everything locally or everything remotely, and then I can only iterate. And the idea is that we want to let you reuse the existing staging environment, and then the only thing you need to run or care about is the service you're working on, which in my case would be IP visit counter. So let's send some calls to the service just to show. So this is my microservice responding. You can see it says remote is fun, hi. And then I will do a little change just to show like the effect. I'll say, hi, Melbourne. And now MIDI comes in ID extension for VS Code, for IntelliJ. And all I need to do to get started is install the extension. I can also use the CLI, but extension is always, I believe, is nicer. And once I install the extension, I add this little toggle here, which is enabled. We'll show you. So many people think that once you do that, it does anything. No, there's no, the reason is there's no delays, there's no any logic. It just alters the state of the next execution. So once it's enabled and I click debug, then MUDI kicks in. So now I will click debug. This launch configuration, by the way, has nothing special. It's a Go application, but it can work with any language you might have. It's vanilla, like we didn't put any MUDI things inside. And I can just click debug. And now so the first thing that MUDI would ask me is what service I want to work against. I can specify that in the MUDI JSON file, which is how we configure MUDI locally. But we've taken the interactive approach. So I'm working on IP visit counter, so I will choose the remote IP visit counter. Sorry. So basically what will happen now is MUDI will start agent in the cluster. and the service will compile, attach a debugger to it locally, and we started the execution with a breakpoint on the first line. So the first thing we see is that Mudi fetches the remote environment variable. So here we have Go code using Viper for those who know that just loads environment variables. So Mudi fetches the remote environment variable. You saw my launch JSON. I didn't have any environment set, but it is giving me the remote cluster environment variables. Let's jump here and see that we have a port assigned, Redis service to use, response file to use, etc. Everything came automatically, no configuration needed, very easy. So usually, probably you know, when microservices start, the first bootstrapping for configuration usually happens via environment variables. So we got that solved. Next, we're going to read a file. So this file, app-response.txt, doesn't exist on my machine. Let's show you that. So no such file or directory. And other solutions, what they do, they mount it, and then you need to change the location to use the mount. In our case, because we are loaded into the process, what will happen is that you call read file, and a read file will be calling our hook, and we will actually read the file from the remote. So let's show it in action. So we can see response string is remote is fun. That came from the cluster. I didn't need to set it up. Next, we're going to connect to the remote Redis. So this Redis doesn't exist on my machine. I don't know the DNS. I don't have the IP address available to me. But when I connect in my Mudi RAN application, it is available. So we didn't have an error, so that means it works. Next is going to connect to Kafka. Let's click continue. And we should be good. Yep. So what we see now is that I put a debug console, and we see that we started getting health checks. So I loaded the default Mudi configuration, which means that I'm mirroring incoming traffic. So any request coming to the remote service is actually handled by the remote service, but I'm getting a copy of it. So my response is getting discarded. You can say getting dev null. So then I can test my API without actually interfering with what's going in the cluster. So now I'll put a breakpoint in my main API in the get count and do a curl. So the first thing you see is that we got a breakpoint, but we immediately returned because the stable version is the one that answered. And we can see that also our change isn't visible here. So then I can step through, see what's going on, debug, and continue with my life. But if I want to have my changes applied, I can use the still mode. Let's do that. Oh, yeah. Come on. So let's configure that. So if I do still, what happens is any traffic coming to the remote service would be stored into my local machine. And that, of course, might interfere with other people. So I want to be more nice person. So I would use a filter. So the filter I used is a header filter. So only traffic that has this header, and this can be a regex, would come to my machine. So let's rerun with this. So service is up. The first thing you can notice is that we don't get the health checks anymore because those are filtered out because we put a header filter. Next, I'm going to send a curl without my header. And we see that we didn't get a breakpoint. Just remove it. So let's do it again. Breakpoint. But when I add my header, it will be my local service handling it. And now we can see the curl is being stuck because it's me handling it right now. I will release it by clicking continue. That's now the latency. And when it comes back, we will see that we see our change. You can see high Melbourne versus the stable version returning high. So now I can test, I don't affect really the staging environment, and we are being very nice to our colleagues. Yeah. So that's the demo. Any question?
Redis database with different staging cluster.
Mhm.
What if I don't want to mess with that?
Yeah, good question. So of course, with great power comes great responsibility. And what we allow you to do is have like, so what I've shown so far is mostly the features of the beauty open source. So if you want to have guardrails, that's what we actually sell to organizations. And I want to keep that covers this list because I don't want to do a vendor pitch to you. But basically, like the idea is that you are able to do guardrails and then say you can connect to this database, you can connect and actually do that. More specifically, if you want to trust the users and you don't want the guardrails, you can just go to media.json and say this Redis would be local and use that instead of the remote. So of course, then you still need to spin the Redis, but the rest would be remote. So it's really like you can mix and match. So say you have a local Redis running in Docker, the rest is in cluster, and you're still saving the other resources that you don't need to spin up. We support like gRPC, HTTP, UDP. We haven't seen a use case for it yet. Like, what would you filter by? Yeah, okay. So like, if you do this use case, happy to explore it, but the major use cases are usually HTTP and gRPC. Yeah.
Have you explored it generally as that aspect of environment variables
Mm-hmm.
between local systems, staging systems?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to run something in the staging environment from local, you also need to think that you need to have that environment variables, right?
Yeah.
So how does Verity work with the vault system generally?
Yeah, good question. So you're asking how do we handle vault and environment variables from the remote, right? Yeah, so usually in a vault setup, what happens is that it's been bootstrapped by environment variables, then you connect to it, you load from it. So the first thing we covered in the demo, we loaded the remote environment variables. You get the remote variables of the remote cluster. So that's covered. And then you're also able, because you have the same credentials, same file access, same service account token as the remote pod, you're also able to access the remote vault. So you can also ingest or like load the settings from vault. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, especially if you're working with service accounts rather than handling it on your own.
Yeah, like usually it has to come either from environment variables or files. Like if you have any like weird way of getting access, happy to hear. But I haven't seen nothing that like configuration isn't env or file just to bootstrap the settings, right? Yeah.
Does the libc format work for all use cases? I mean, you must have done a lot of case studies.
Yeah, so we haven't seen a customer that's their issue. Like the only caveat we have is if you run Go on Linux, we have workaround there that we provide. It works usually out of the box, but sometimes in very specific cases, you need to add flags to your build system to make it work. But that's the only caveat we've seen in real life. Okay.
Oh, guardrails in MetalBear, so there's no guardrails storing it, so it's fine.
Yeah, so basically the idea with Meetup, the open source, is to be a single player. Like you can take it, you can use it as much as you want, and build things on top of it as well. It's MIT license, by the way. And then when and also the architecture is very like you don't modify the state of the remote cluster. And then anything that modifies the remote state, introduces guardrails, controls, is basically means that you're an enterprise, and then we would like you to be an enterprise customer. But hopefully that's fair. Great. Yeah, so I think I did it very quick. I usually speak fast, but I hope I didn't swallow too many words. Any more questions? Yeah.
You mentioned agent and ephemeral containers. Is the agent like a privileged container ephemeral deal?
Yeah, so it really depends on the use case and your exact cluster configuration. So the agent pod might need to be privileged in some cases, not always. Really depends on what operating system you have on your nodes, what Kubernetes version, is it OpenShift, is it Mirantis, like all the different flavors. So that really affects the configuration of the agent. And then the ephemeral saves you from having some kind of more like taking a different approach. Though we might remove it in the future because we see that it's not as useful as the first way we started with it. Usually the idea, like if you care about security, we see the agent as a control plane where the operator in the enterprise version manages it, and then you don't have any, like the users don't have access to it, and they can't really create a privileged pod if needed to be privileged by themselves. So like that's also part of the idea of offering. Great. So really appreciate you all coming. I had pleasure talking to you. This is the Muti site. This is our GitHub repo. This is our Discord channel if you want to join and chat. This is my email if you want to send me GIFs or like, I don't know, questions, follow-ups. I don't remember what we put in the QR code. If you tell me, because that's from KubeCon. Yeah, I brought swag like MetalBear balls. You can take and some stickers. And any question you might have afterwards, if you want to ask in person, feel free. Thank you.
Thank you, Aviram.
Thank you, Aviram, for a talk. It's really amazing. This technology I've been researching for about 2 years now, 1 year and a half maybe. It's really good to close the gap of knowledge in here. Today I will talk about WebAssembly. Who don't know me, my name is Thiago. I believe if you are here more than once, you have seen me before. Who have heard about WebAssembly before? Hands up. Okay, cool. Who have heard about WebAssembly on the cloud? Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so today I will talk about WebAssembly, but in the point of view of the sustainability as well. Is another topic that is getting traction, and AWS before has 5 pillars, now they have 6, one just for sustainability. Why is that? So the rise of the compute demand, this is the problem. I don't know, these days I was looking, I'm not totally sure if the source is correct, but when you Google something, you use a certain amount of energy. But if you do the same query in the ChatGPT, you use maybe 10 times more energy. And nowadays, since 2023, and ChatGPT is getting better and better, and not just ChatGPT, but cloud, Amazon Q is getting better. And you start using, and more people want to use these technologies, not less people, it's not become less available. So the projections is that today we use around 340 tons water energy, but in 2030, they estimate to be 3 times that. So it's quite a lot. And in the world today is about 1.3% of the energy is on the data centers. Here in Australia is about 5% used just for power the data centers. So this is my agenda today. We will talk about the sustainability challenges, just a little recap on some key concepts for during the talk, why sustainability matter, how we can integrate WebAssembly on the Kubernetes, some real world case that we'll talk in previous talk, and some future trends as well, how you can start playing with WebAssembly today. I'm just running one of the demos here. I hope everything is fine when I'm come to that. It's a spin up WebAssembly cluster using GKS. So let's start. So let's talk a bit on the baseline here. I skip a little bit what it is mainframes because okay, we already passed that part. Right? We nowadays use virtual machines, and we have that virtual machines in different clouds. You can even have in your private cloud as well, or in your home lab. But what happens in the VM and why that is so important, why we use that? Because in the VM you can spin up, you have infrastructure as a code, and you have all the things that you want to put in there. But the problem is sometimes your application, if that VM goes down, to get another instance of the same thing takes some time, right? So everybody agree with this one or no? Fine. And the size as well, like some VMs is like gigabytes of space. Then we have pro containers, think it's Docker, and nowadays not just Docker, but different containers. And the containers solve a lot of this problem, right? Before you have gigabytes of image for a VM, now you have maybe some times still gigabytes for some image, but much quicker to spin up, and you don't have all the overhead for controlling all the low level for the VM, right? So containers make it lighter and make it faster as well. Then we came with a WebAssembly. WebAssembly is a bytecode program that you can run using in a runtime, independent on the host. If you have the WebAssembly runtime in the host, you can run the same bytecode in that host. And the thing is, because it's a bytecode and you have all the dependencies in that, it can become really small and quick to spin up. Then we'll talk about who knows this formula? It's not the formula for tax reciprocal one, but it is a formula for the software carbon intensity. So this is from the Green Software Foundation. And here we have this formula a little more explain what it is. So we cannot manage what we do not control, right? If we don't measure that, we cannot control. So this is one way that we can put that in numbers to understand how much one software is carbon intensive. Okay, so what is happening is you have the energy consumption. The energy consumption is kind of a proxy for the carbon, and then you have how much you emit for that energy. So how much you use, how much carbon that energy emit. And then you have the M. M is for the how much carbon is needed for the hardware that you are using. I imagine for producing this projector, you have all the supply chain and the industry that used to produce that. It has a carbon, and you can consider that you depreciate and you have a lifetime to use that one. All these per R, and R is just a unit that you can put in there. One way to imagine this is how much carbon do you use per API request? This is the number that you get in the end. And this is just a total number that you can start using to control how much your software are carbon intensive. And when you have this, you can use this number and have 3 points to tackle the problem. You can go with the energy efficiency. So you make that more energy efficient, right? We stop using the kind of light bulbs that it is not LED, right? Because LED is so much more efficiency. So you can reduce that number. You can also go to the hardware efficiency. So you can use the same hardware more efficient. That's why we can use containers in one server, because you can have much more containers in one server than more VMs. Or you can also go to the carbon awareness. Carbon awareness maybe is the more new thing here, is how the energy that it is produced, how that energy is produced, how many carbon you are emitting to produce that energy. So here in Australia, you use a lot of coal for producing energy. You have gas as well, but you also have the renewable energies, right? Like solar and wind. And that much, this is how you can calculate how much carbon you use to produce that energy. So if you consider the carbon awareness is a way to, like, you can use, you can transfer your workload to run during the day, I mean, when the sun is up and you have solar energy, you can use that energy. Then into the night, because then you don't have the solar energy. So your energy that you are using there at that time maybe it is more carbon intense. Okay, make this it's easier to understand. You can also move workloads if you have this possibility, because we are in the cloud. We can move from places, data centers that use we can say less dirty or more clean energy, and run there to put your number or the software carbon intensity down. Okay. So back to the WebAssembly. WebAssembly is this thing that you can take any language, almost any language today. You compile to the WebAssembly and then become a file not WASM. And that one you can run in the browser. That is where it started 2017. You start having WASM, especially for C++. I believe the one that they used this beginning was Autodesk. They had this really huge application that is for computer desktop application called AutoCAD, and they want to move that to the web. And they could use this by WASM. And I believe it was a consortium that I'm sure that there is a consortium called and the name I forgot maybe. But there is a consortium that is led by Firefox, and they created these standards for what it is WASM and how you can run it in the browser. Then later, 2 years later, we have the WASI. WASM is the WebAssembly system interface. And that brings the WebAssembly that was running in the browser to the server, basically. You can run with WASM in any place, not just in the server. You can have many like IOPs that can run WASM programs. And the thing is, the same WASM that it is in the browser, you can bring it to the web server for the servers. But besides that, this is still in, they call preview is version 0.0.2 now, and they have different implementations, and they are trying to solve problems because of this, the way that this language work. And one thing that at least I have used WASM on my website. If you have tried to study for the Kubernetes Security Associate, before I was using a JSON file to have all the questions, but then decided to move to a SQLite database. And because I didn't have any server, I just want to serve the file there. I served the file using a WASM application that can read the SQLite. And the same WASM program can be used in the web, in the server. And the server here, they have this called modules now, that you can create modules in different languages and communicate between them. So you can have, if imagine that you have, I don't know exactly the example wrong, but if you have something that is really good quickly in C++ or C, but your application is mostly in Python, you can compile that part in WASM and call from your Python program compiled to WASM, and they can run both in the same runtime of WASM. So this is what they call is a polyglot approach. Okay, then we have, sorry, I forgot to mention about the security. Security is also really interesting and important, is that because it runs in a runtime, it is sandbox environment, and it can only access data and some resources if it is explicitly allowed. So by default, it don't have access to many things, and that is also, I'd say, weaker point maybe, especially in the network part. Okay, then we have here why the size will change in the web when you compile. Depending on the language, it's the same thing, all right? That you have a garbage in, garbage out. So depends on the language that you are using. The size of the WASM will be different because it needs to compile everything to run by that bytecode, right? So if you have a language like Python that needs to have the interpreter and the things of the garbage collector, it become a huge, but not huge, but you not gain on, we not harness all the potential of the WASM because of you are just compiled to WASM. So this is WASM is not the solution for everything, right? But it is interesting because you can make that program, and the part of being polyglot, you can call components in another language in the same runtime. And why the size matter in this sense? Because of the speed, right? And I will not tell too much because VMs, you know that is minutes, and containers right now, we know that it is seconds. And if you are running like Lambda functions, you have this problem, right? You want to keep the Lambda ready to run, so you keep that warm. So you don't need to have the cold start from the function, because what happens is the Lambda is spinning up here a micro VM, and then you have the function there. But when you have it in the WASM is really, really amazingly, like blazingly fast, right? Less than 1 millisecond. This is like, what? Less than 1 millisecond. How is possible to do this? But it's not like you're not handle a lot of things to do just a minute. But still, if you have some just request that needs to be done by millisecond, this is where you can really scale to 0. So if you have your architecture event driving, and sometimes you want to have scale to 0, right? If you're not using, you don't need to keep it running while, because this is where have the other, sorry. So this is where the power of WebAssembly comes, especially if you are talking on serverless and event-driven architecture. And how we can combine WebAssembly to Kubernetes. So WebAssembly have been watched by the CNCF in the sense that a lot of projects are emerging in that. And you have some ways of running WebAssembly in a server. So what you need to do in the Kubernetes, you need to do these two things. One, your node needs to have runtime that it is a WebAssembly runtime. You can select it between some runtimes like Spin Kube or WASM Edge, or even inside the I believe container D nowadays, you can have a shame for that. Even if you are developing in your local machine, you can use Docker. Docker has a WebAssembly enable now. You can start playing with that. And you have the K8s operator. Our operator in the Kubernetes is what is responsible to install things in the nodes. So you can use that to spin up the WebAssembly runtime. And then you need to have the runtime class to these two objects that they will send that YAML file that we like to the correct node, creating the pod. So it will be a Kubernetes object as any other, but running in different runtimes, not using the container runtime. It's a WebAssembly runtime. So this is one slide that I took from another presentation from Kenny. And this is really interesting because here we can see that most of the energy in the computer is just in the idle. One quarter to 3/30 of the power in that is just to keep it on. So if you turn a server on, waiting to come like your users to start using the server to really processing something, until that point, you already 50% is already just waiting. And then you have the workload in there, this a little bit, right? Because you don't want to go and have a server with 100% utilization. Otherwise, you have a server tonight, right? So you don't have that much actually energy to use efficiency in a server if you're just keeping it on. So the idea is if you can put more things, that's the idea, you can cook more cookies in the same oven is the best idea. So if you use WebAssembly, not that WebAssembly will be, let's say, not that WebAssembly is the way that we replace containers, but you can use WebAssembly in a more efficient way inside the servers because you can have more workloads in the same server. So here it's called the density. You can have more workloads and more apps per server, and then you can increase the utilization of the server. And then this will make your hardware intensity better. And some real use case here, later, I believe I have in the sources, but there is a talk on the last KubeCon or Wasm IO that Amex, they started to create internal platform and replacing containers by WebAssembly. How they are doing exactly was not totally open, but in that talk, they gave a lot of insights. And the idea is that because you can run WebAssembly inside Kubernetes, you have all the part of security on the division by namespaces, RBAC inside, and all the benefits that we already have inside Kubernetes, but using in the WebAssembly. The WebAssembly case on Figma, they were really early adopters on this back in 2017. Soon after WebAssembly was released, they implement that and become 3 times faster the load compared to JavaScript per JavaScript. So you can imagine that these are really big efficiencies, right? You have the same server, same things there, and you can get 3 times less. So you, of course, there is this problem, right? If you are more efficient, you have more users, but at the same time, if you have the same time of users, same number of users, and you're still using the same amount of energy, you are having a better if you are using different approaches to WebAssembly. Adobe is another one that is also part of this consortium. I will remember the name of the consortium, but it will come soon. And Adobe have used WebAssembly in the web. So different programs that they have create like Adobe for PDF, really famous ones, the Photoshop was now in the web. But they are also starting to use the WebAssembly in their server part for AI inferences. So the thing is, you can use WebAssembly to do the inference with the AI, and they are using for, these days we can create images using AI, like the logo for Kubernetes. That one, that is AI, right? But a lot of image today, you cannot recognize if it is AI or not. And they are creating this kind of digital sign for image and using AI to detect if that is not AI or not. So, and they are using this in the server. So using WAS. Okay. What else? And Amazon. Amazon is a really interesting thing. You have Amazon and Amazon Prime, and you watch these in many different devices, right? Television, computer, and cell phones. And they have modified the pipeline to bytecode to WebAssembly. So they can update up to 8,000 devices using this just one bytecode program. So they don't need to create a different program for different devices. And this is also a really huge, not just in the energy efficiency, but for the development life cycle as well. And this is the cloud native landscape filtered by WebAssembly. So just in the WebAssembly landscape, we have that many projects. One of the projects that is, I believe not here, was donated recently is the Spin. Spin was donated recently. I'm not sure if I put it here. But yeah, so many projects that use WebAssembly and support WebAssembly. And I invite you to take a look on these projects. They need more people as well for, like me, I'm just promoting this, but you can help contributing to the open source community as well. Take a look on this. This is just part of the CNCF landscape. The CNCF landscape is too huge to put in this screen. Yeah. So yeah, the Bytecode Alliance. This is also the group that I was trying to remember, and they are responsible to create this, well, not just creating, but to maintain the WebAssembly and the WASI, that it is the systems interface and the components. So take a look. I have starting that one now. If you want to see, I want to see if we can finalize that one. So in the right side here, you have how to deploy WebAssembly in the EKS, and we have EKS now on Amazon, and I have just starting here. So let me see if it finished. I got an error, so I got a yeah, I got a, so the demo gods was not really good with me, and because sorry. But take a look on that to spin up. What I have done is spin up a cluster. Oh gosh, just want to get back here. I want to see what was there. Okay, I don't know exactly how it is right now, but yeah, take a look on that. And I'm open to questions. Any questions? So this is my LinkedIn page.
Thank you for presentation. So, containers provide some kind of C group, the file system, like, yeah. So for isolation, so I was wondering if there wasn't also provide this kind of.
Yeah, so what happens in the WASI is more isolated. So in a sense that containers, you basically start from some base image and you start from there, right? And they is already detailed some like file systems and everything. In the WAS, you don't have that. So you need to add what you want to use. So you select what kind of components, like the file system.
Kind of Docker file.
Sorry?
Kind of like Docker file. So when you make Docker image, then we'll rewrite Docker file. So
Yeah, it's not exactly a Docker file. It's not a Docker file, but because you are, what happens is you have the program, right? And let's use Python because I know a little bit more Python. So you have Python there. And Python also don't have access to the file system, right? You install a library inside the Python that you can use that to get, okay, I have path now, so I can use path to access the file. So what WebAssembly will do, it will take the code with the library and compile that to bytecode. So then you have access to the file system. But when you run the file system, you need to set in the run time, the WebAssembly runtime where you are running. That also need to have a configuration saying, okay, you have access to this file. Okay? So if you don't set the configuration in the runtime explicitly, you don't have access to any file. Yep.
you highlighted a lot of benefits of using Wasm. What do you think is stopping everyone from using it?
Yeah, a lot of things actually, a lot of things. First, it's quite new, right? Like 2017, it started from the browser, and the idea of bringing to the server is 2019. So I believe COVID was one thing that stopped people, but the real thing is that there are some languages and uses that it is not totally possible in WebAssembly right now. Like concurrency is one thing. There are some like network problems as well because it's not a container. It's not like the same thing like have a kernel and you can have all these implementations. So this is what the WASI people are working to and how they can create it and close the gap to bring more usage for this program. So and the other thing is because it's in preview, they had the preview 1, I believe, until 1 year ago, and now it's in preview 2. So the API calls that was in preview 1 for the preview 2 was deprecated and not used, and this takes time. So I believe until probably they are expecting 2028 to have the version 1 more stable. I believe until there, people is still like it's really early stage, but even if it is early stage, a lot of companies and people are already harnessing the potential of this. There is one thing that I test that is interesting. There is this I forgot, I always not good with names, but if you search for WASM-Ed is one of the programs, one of the projects in CNCF, and there is a company that is backing them, and they have created a way to use WebAssembly to do the inference with AI. So I had done a workshop before of LLMs in Kubernetes, and I have used Python for that. And to create the container for using the AI, I had the model, so I need to download the model and I have to download all the libraries using that model, right, to make the inference. And then the container become like 1 gigabyte, even if the model was a small one, like half of that was the model. This program that I forgot the name, but using was an Edge runtime. It's a program that is only 20 megabytes and can use for any model in Hugging Face. So you just needed the model plus this WASM program that it is 20 gigabytes plus the WASM runtime, and you can do inference. So that is huge, right? You can make it, and the thing is, the first inference take time because you need to load that in the memory, but after that is really quickly. Yeah, take a look on WASM. If this is the first time you have contact with this, I really happy to have opportunity to talk about it, and also be mindful of the software carbon. I think it's something that I know that we usually go to the language because of the features, but also if we think about a little bit more in the future, I know that we usually don't think, right? We get taken by granted that they have the cloud somewhere. And
There's a good chance in 10 years' time, just like the climate control, people will progress against about the carbon emission of the software as well. The industrialization happened, we never thought people would protest against the climate to go neutral or carbon neutral. Look where we are now. So
yeah,
numbers will rise. So yeah, that's a massive possibility.
yeah, it's massive possibility. I believe this is when you think in the system as a whole. If you don't put that in evidence that okay, we need to think about this problem, we will not think. We just keep ignoring and just taking back, right? And especially because it's digital, right? The thing of the digital things is that we're not touching. We're not seeing that the car smoke and everything. We want to go electrical, but electrical cars lose energy. The energy to power the electrical car needs to be done somewhere. So that's the thing. But, okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Thiago. That was a very good talk about what's made for WebAssembly. So now.
Is that all good? Okay, now let's start. So I'll hand it to Luisa to help us walk through the quiz.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for making it this far tonight. And we'll kick off our flagship event of the quiz. So I think 30 seconds is enough for every question tonight. So please scan invite a QR code. Okay, so we're going to kick that off. Got 10 questions for tonight. So first one, relating to the first talk, what is the primary purpose of mirrored? So it looks like most people got that right, which is great. Running local code in the context of a K8s cluster. Moving on. So second question is, what language or stack is supported? It is usually the any. Great. Great to see. So question number 3. So what happens when you run mirrored X? Three words here. Wow, that one pretty much everyone got. Great. Number 4. What component does mirror replace during development? Okay, great. And finally, for the first talk, we have question 5. What is the main reason developers fall in love with mirror, which is a bit of humor? I think there should be multiple answers to this one.
Salespeople say. It bought beer and pizza, so.
I think that's funnier than the question. It's the logical one. Great. Now the questions from Thiago's talk. Which is one of the main benefits of using WebAssembly for applications? Wow, congratulations, everyone. So that's really great. Shows you're listening. Number 7, compared to VMs, how quickly can WebAssembly applications start? So it takes milliseconds. Number 8. What does scale to 0 mean in the context of WebAssembly? Great, it looks like we have a bit of pattern with C's. Second last question, it's getting close. So, which of these is a way WebAssembly can be used with Kubernetes? Does it replace, help as a tool, make it run slower, or you can't actually use them together? Perfect. Now the final question. So, why is improving energy efficiency in data centers important? And I'm really glad that everyone got this. Thank you so much. So without further ado, I'll reveal the leaderboard for tonight. Wonderful. Do you want to announce the winners or do you want me to?
You go for it.
Okay. Yeah, well, the light's back on, so the movie is pretty much finishing.
Yeah, we believe because of the trains are shutting down. In the
So-
they call cloud.
Appreciate everyone who participated. So now we're going to hand out the aforementioned swags. So obviously, whoever comes first has best preferences. In first place, really happy to announce Sean B. Congratulations. Yeah, if you'd like to come up and pick a prize.
You don't mind to take a photo?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, which prize do you choose?
What the prices?
Yeah, we do have a tissue here, and the price. Let me come back here.
We have so many, can't remember.
So we got the code cloud access. We got 50% off code, and also 50% of exam code. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah. So that's for Kubernetes.
Yeah.
So which one are you planning to do?
The Kubernetes, the
CK?
CK, yeah.
Oh, that's
And
the-
the three of them, the three CK.
Oh, that's three. Yeah, that's three hard one.
Yes, yes.
Hands on. Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Yeah. Let's do a photo. Yeah, I need someone to take photo for
Take-
us. Oh, okay. Ricky helping us. Thank you. I will ping you. Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you get us your full name, email.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
Yeah. Please. Thank you. The next winner is Jen. Congratulations. Winner. Oh, come on. Which one choose? Is that too big? It's Excel.
It's Excel.
It's Excel. Yeah.
This is also.
Yeah. The beanie.
I'll get a red hat.
Yeah, the red hat beanie also pretty good.
I have a red hat shirt, so.
Okay, let's do a photo.
Awesome, thanks.
Next winner, RKAS. Oh, come on, Rob.
Congratulations. Yeah, what would you like?
I want to get decoded again.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
6 months.
keep studying again.
Did you
Yeah.
already got?
Yeah, I got it a year ago.
Oh, it's always in class. Thanks, buddy.
The next winner, Andrew J.
Oh, you're from AWS? No? Oh, there is another Andrew. Is that here? From AWS? Okay. No, we haven't asked you which one you choose.
I'm gonna take one.
No, everyone can take a one.
Oh,
of
really?
these, yeah. I believe, yeah. So the winner who hasn't take the MetalBear stuff, feel free to grab one. Excel size, is that good for you?
I'll get the cert. Yes.
50% off?
Yeah.
Okay, we still have a, yeah.
Let's do a photo.
Oh, really good.
Oh, we already did, oh, sorry. Awesome, congratulations.
The next winner, Michael, yeah. You want
Yeah, sure.
Michael, congratulations.
What would you like?
That would be nice.
Code clone? Yeah, good, yeah, awesome. Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, make sure pass your name, email to us and grab one of these. How many kids do you have? Grab another one. Yeah. Is that total clutter all gone, right? So how many are gone? Only two, huh? We still have one left. We still have one exam voucher, right? Next winner. Is that Daihi? Congratulations.
Which one would you like?
Yeah.
Is that still have, how many we already? We only have three, eh? Is that already three? I can't remember it. We got one more, right? Okay, so you're the one, yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we still have one exam module or two, one, right? One more, okay. The next winner, Jackie. We still have an exam voucher, 50% of exam voucher.
For
the
6 months?
For 6 months, it's already gone. Yeah, we only have three. And the t-shirt is XL size.
Too big for me.
Yeah, maybe the beanie if you
Oh,
like.
we have that one.
Oh, you have a
I
better.
think 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that one is better, right?
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah, that's the special
So
one.
what is
from
about that, the 50%, what examination?
It can be CKA, CK8, CKS, or KCN,
yeah, I take that one.
KCSA. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
All right.
Give
Did
me
we
some-
already
give
take
me some
photo?
starting force. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Give me some challenges. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the next winner, Agent One. Why so many? Why so many AI agents here? Nobody. Is that anybody already left? Okay. Is that online? Is there anyone claim this? Agent one, once, twice. No more chance. Let's skip Adam. Congratulations. Yeah.
T-shirt. I get.
T-shirt, yeah, that's a good size for you, probably. Yeah, that's XL. Yeah, then. Is that
Yeah.
good size?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do a photo, right? 1, 2, 3.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
The next winner, Healed. Is that Healed? Is that? Oh no, that's a hit. Hit. You change your name, right? You always change it. Yeah, I remember last time you won something. How to pronounce your name? Hit? Hide. Oh, congratulations. Hi, IT. Okay.
I just take two of these.
Yeah, that's all right. Congratulations. Yeah, okay, take a photo. Yeah.
Very excited. 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations. Yeah, the rest of you guys all can get, I don't know, is how many we can use?
Oh, I really can, yeah. So no invitation, like, just don't follow.
Okay. Everyone can get a MetalBear. Okay. So we're not going to read any more. Yeah. We normally wait to the top 10. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. If you guys don't mind, come over. Yeah. Let's do a group photo, please. Come over, guys. Get some beers. MetalBear. Yeah. Where is my phone? I keep it on.
This one is good for sleeping. Yes. Yes.
Hey guys.
Anyone wants sleep mask?
I think.
You want one? Okay, yeah, already like, they have stickers, by the way, if you like. Thank you.
Very safe. Ready.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.